Yeah, I was listening to this former KGB operant. This is in the 60s. This interview was in the 60s, but he was talking about how it's not what you think about spy work and stuff. It's 80% of it's psychological. So, and he was talking about how they were doing this to the United States. It's basically, he was saying, once they got their programs intact and into the people, they program them to where they can even, and this is relevant today, where you can even take a person onto a chemtrail jet, and show them all the canisters and all the spray equipment and stuff, and show them how it's done and what's being done, and show them photos and images, show them, where the engine is, and show them where the chemicals come out of the plane, the wing and stuff, and just proof, and still the person won't believe you because they've been programmed. And we're in a place like that right now where you can just talk all you want to some people, most people, and they're so programmed that they don't see it. They don't see it.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. All I have to do is talk to my boss, and I see that. He is so programmed. By the way, I found something interesting about my boss the other day. He did a tour over in over in Iraq during all the wars over there, and I always thought he was air traffic controller, and I thought he was out there directing the airplanes around, just doing a low-level job, just separating the airplanes and clearing them to take off and land from the airports. But I found out that for the last 10 years in the Army, he was a mission planner. So he was working with all the colonels and all the top brass in these meetings, planning all these missions against the Iraqis and whoever else they were fighting over there. And so I did not know that until a few days ago. And now I understand why he's so tap-blind and he can't. I could show him the original photographs of the Pentagon, and he could not see that there was no airliner. It was impossible to show him that an airliner did not hit the Pentagon. And he's a licensed pilot and air traffic controller, and he still couldn't see it. Like you said, it's just like, well, I don't, what are you showing me, Robert? What are you showing me? I don't see it. Obviously an airliner hit, well, we'll say, well, show me, how could a 757 hit the side of the Pentagon and not even damage the windows next to the garage door, which wasn't any bigger than like 12 feet wide and 15 feet high. That was the only hole, and he says, I don't see what you're trying to tell me, and just like you say, it's just like, what wonderland are these people living in, What does it take for them to see reality? How do you snap them out of that? Or maybe it's not even possible. So anyway, I know exactly what you're talking about, Val.
Little Reader's Digest, little tests where you read something and then it has like, at the end of the line has like an A, and then it has like an A at the beginning of the next line, and you don't see, you read something and it looks like one thing, but unless somebody points it out to you or you really acute, you see it, you don't see that it's misspelled or there's another word there, or even another word there, you see the word twice because it's on one line and then on the next line. You just see it as one word. So it's just kind of like the people that are manipulating and the public know the psychology of how people perceive things. So they're very good at what they do in terms of like programming and affecting the perceptions that people have, how they perceive things. So but you see, like if someone calls to your attention, the Reader's Digest, a little book, they say, oh, see, now look at this and look at that, if they really point it out, sometimes people will be like a aha moment, you know. Sometimes that would work. So maybe that's a simplified version of what we're doing, but it's probably deeper because of the tap lines people have. They can't even see that, you know, sometimes.
Have you ever seen that paragraphs that somebody wrote where all the letters and every word in this whole paragraph are all jumbled? It's like a paragraph long, and every word, the letters are scrambled, but the first and last letter of every word is the original word, and you can. And it said like 80% of the population can read it with no problem with all the misspellings, and like 20% of the population they cannot see it for love or money. There's nothing they can do to get their mind to read it, but 80% of the population can read the paragraph, and their mind um, tells them what the real words are supposed to be, because by knowing what the first and last letter are, there's enough information to sort it out, and you can actually read through it. You know which one I'm talking about? You ever seen that?
Remember that one.
Well, anyway, it's and and a lot of times you'll see that paragraph which says, why do teachers, why are they so important on you spelling words properly? Because anybody can read misspelled words, or 80% of the population can read perfectly misspelled words. But it's like your mind is the one behind it, and so like when you're trying to explain the truth to something, it's similar to that, but in our case, it's plain as day, but they can't see it. The words aren't even jumbled, and they can't see it. So it's some sort of mind programming, like you say. I don't quite understand the psyche of it, but
Well, we encourage people to be multi-dimensional. You know, if you're so literal, they're easier to be programmed and to be led in certain ways. But if you are aware of other levels, dimensions, you know, that sort of thing, watch the real side, your dreams, then you're much more apt to see these things and be aware of what is real and what's illusion, you know, or just something that somebody created for their benefit, not yours.
One example that I've probably mentioned this before, but my cousin worked for a top photographer in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, where the university and a bunch of huge high schools were. And this guy would do the yearbook portraits and all that sort of stuff for the high school and for the university, and he did thousands and thousands and thousands of portraits for people, and he charged top dollar. He charged like he would. I mean, back in like 1975, he was charging $100 for a portrait, for the high school yearbook, and his nearest competitor was like charging $80. And then one day, my cousin was telling me that one day one of his competitors upped his charge to $90 for a portrait, and this his boss, the photographer, found out about it, and he raised his rate up to 120 just instantly. And so I asked my cousin, well, why is he charging so much? I mean, why is he gouging everybody? He says he's not. It's not that he's gouging people, but he learned a secret about people's minds. He said when people spend top dollar, he said it was really funny. He even laughed. He said when people spend such an outrageous figure, so much money for a $5 portrait, that whenever there's a blemish, they can't see it. And so his boss found out early in his photography career that when he charged an outrageous fee, he could have blemishes all over these portraits, and people could not see it. he said that he could have blemishes that were just so blatant that anybody else could look at it in 2 seconds and say, well, how is he even selling these things? And it was so outrageous. But the people that were spending that much money, their mind would erase the blemishes. They could not see any blemishes. But I mean, that's the principle that it worked on. But this guy, he did not have blemishes on his portraits because he sent them out and had them all corrected. He had a lab that corrected any blemishes on these portraits. So um, they were perfect portraits, but he understood the principle. And it's like today is when you try to show somebody like in the military what's really going on, they can't see it because they have invested so much of their life into believing the falsehood that when you show them the truth, they are blind to it. There's nothing you can do to overcome their mind's ability to see reality instead of what they've come to believe and invested all their time or money or their career or whatever it was. They just can't see through it. So it's a very interesting principle.
Yeah, I'll share one more thing here, and about that. And this is experience I've shared before. It's when I was in primitive skills camp in New Jersey with my son, and we had this routine where we go to part of the day was spent inside listening to lectures on the blackboard. And we go in, and this is like fourth or fifth day, and we had gotten down to a pretty specific routine. Almost people would sit in the same places on the same seats and the benches and all that. And then the instructor said, "Okay, do you see anything different here? Are you aware of anything different?" So everybody's looking around. No, not one person. There's about 40 people in there maybe. Not one person saw anything strange or different. And then the instructor says, "Okay, come on out." And there's like about 5 people that were hiding. They were like hiding in plain sight. They were in plain, like one person was under a bench. One person was like kind of in the rafters somewhere, kind of behind a curtain. I mean, you could see him. It's like this text we were talking about. If you were aware it was there, you could see it. But see, these people we were so entrenched in our routine, which is part of what's going on here. People are they're being routinely, they're just focused on their routine. They're not even aware of what's going on around them. So this is a great example of how we get into these places of where we're just not aware anymore. We're just entrenched in what we're doing, our everyday lives, routines that we go through. And in a way, this is, the mind does that because, there's a lot to take in. So it doesn't take in as much as it could. And since most people aren't into a survival situation like the Indians were, where they had to be aware, or like cats, some of the animals where they have to be aware to survive. We've lost that ability. So yes, this routine is perfect for the controllers or those people that want to manipulate people. They use that routine to control them and manipulate people and get what they want.
That's very interesting.
We all see things differently. Remember that artist? I think she was American Indian, or he, where she used to paint, well, draw first and then paint in animals and birds and trees, and I mean, it made it a part of the landscape, the tree and the plants, and she'd work them into the mountains. And if you didn't know that she did that, it was very hard to pick them out, to differentiate the wolf and the tree that was already gray or something like that. You can go for wildlife walks with people, and some people notice all the animals. They notice a lot. And the person they're walking with never sees it. It's just interesting.
Let me say one more thing because it's kind of fun. Am I unmuted? Okay, so this again refers back to this instructor I had. And his instructor, who was an Indian, they went on a walk like you're talking about, and they go walking through the forest, and they go like it was 100 yards or something, or less, 100 yards, let's say. And then the Indian who's instructing Tom was the student. The Indian says, "What did you see?" And Tom starts rattling off. I saw the fox. There's a fox hiding behind a tree. I saw a gopher hole. I saw the insects, the ants crawling up the tree. I saw deer tracks and deer scat over there. Just all this, just naming off stuff like 5-10 minutes of things that he saw. I mean, incredible amount of things he saw just by slowly, walking through the forest. I mean, they took their time. It wasn't like you're hiking through, on a freeway. You just slowly and go through and you pick up this stuff. And Tom was really proud, So well, their grandfather was the Indian. Their grandfather, see how much I know. And then grandfather shakes his, okay. And Tom says, "What do you see?" And then they spent the rest of the day. It was in the morning. They spent the rest of the day where grandfather was telling them what he saw during this little like 5-10 minute walk. I mean, grandfather just took in all this information. They spent hours and hours with grandfather was just telling him what he saw. And so again, it's like it's whatever we see, there's so much more to see in life, especially in other dimensions, and especially the real reality that is, that's the real adventure, to see what really is. But there's so much more out there. So this program and others that we do is just helping people to see that there's more out there.
I have kind of an opposite where the animal, in this case, a bird, did not see me. I was in Carefree, Arizona, and Val probably knows where that is, probably a lot of others too. It's right by Scottsdale, Arizona, which is outside of Phoenix. It's a ways from Phoenix, but you get the general area. And in Carefree, Arizona, they have these marvelous boulders, smooth boulders that, well, you're not supposed to sit on them, but guess who sat on them? And I was with a friend of mine, and we were sitting there, and this bald eagle flies in and lands in front of me, but I know he didn't see me. And all of a sudden he turns and he looks at me because he was sort of facing the other way, and it was like he went and he took off and flew away when he saw me. And the only thing the other person, well, she didn't see the eagle, believe it or not, by Ripley, but she felt the air lift off. When he lifted off, you could feel this great whoosh of air. And it was funny. And I have one other one where the animal didn't see me. I went out really early in the Arizona desert because I wanted to see what animals I could see. And man, I wasn't really seeing any at all. And other than little tiny things, and I saw snakes and, scorpions and stuff, more insects than anything. Well, as I'm standing there, I went out really early, like 4:30 in the morning, before the sun was up. And as the sun comes up, I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, 4 deer pass me not only did they pass me, but they rubbed against me. I could, feel them, and they didn't see me. They just kept going. I don't know. It was kind of funny. But sometimes the animal doesn't see you either. Sometimes you might be a surprise.
Yeah, the Indians used to, they didn't have TV in those days, so they do things like they sneak up on animals. Animals were very
I
aware.
guess.
So this fellow I was talking about, Tom, he did this once. He's a good tracker. He's with nature, and he can be the gray man, invisible, and his vibrations. He can like make them like suitable for. So he basically disappears. So one day he did deer are very hard to, deer are very aware. They can hear, they can see. Well, they can't see they can hear very good, very good hearing, and movement too. They go by hearing and movement. They can't see very good, but he was able to stealthily sneak up to a deer and touch the deer from the back side, and the deer. It's funny. The deer turns around, and the expression the deer had was, "Hey, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be able to do this." So Tom said, "Hey, this isn't right, or this is like it's supposed to be, because I'm the deer. I'm the aware one here." So
I'm the aware one. It's funny.
Yeah, I read an article one time about how the ninjas are trained to disappear and be invisible and be able to hide in plain sight. And they do it by lowering their energy level. So it's very interesting. They actually can develop that skill.
Work like that.
You're on mute.
Kelsey and I have done a lot of that. Disguises and gone into different situations. We used to do that in Northern California a lot.
It's fun.
It's fun.
One of the things I'm going to say at the end here about our Skype program was actually the last two times we were on with Kelsey, and when we came to do the new UU, evidently I sounded robotic, as Kelsey put it, and we're wondering what the heck that was. And then the last one, they couldn't hear us at all talk or sing the new UU. And so Bob, I actually had an appointment this morning with a computer guy at 8 o'clock, but last night Bob took a look at the computer and he updated Skype, and now it works perfectly. So evidently, if you have that happen to you, you might want to update Skype. We didn't know about that you needed to update it. I thought once it was installed, that was it, but that's not the case. If they do updates, then your program won't work very well, if at all. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. One other thing, there was a earthquake in 7 miles outside of Anchorage, Alaska on November 30th at about 11:30 in the morning. Did a lot of damage, a lot of aftershocks. So
knock down bridges and everything.
Yeah, knocked down bridges and a lot of other things, structures. So it was powerful.
I have a friend that lives up there. My best friend from high school lives up there, and he wasn't right near the epicenter, but he said everything in his house came crashing down, and a lot of things got broken, and nobody got hurt, but he said it did a lot of damage up there. So it was interesting. There was another earthquake.
Oh, this morning.
In the Pacific. Was it yesterday? 7.5 on the Richter?
Yep, 7.5.
A huge one, but they said it didn't create a tsunami anywhere.
Especially for Hawaii. No tsunamis for Hawaii. So That's good.
Well, anybody else like to add anything?
Yeah, we have a radio show on Friday with the guy Rick Durante. He runs a lot of websites and Facebook groups. One of the bigger ones is called Weather Wars International. There's like over 30,000 people on there. And he's
Yikes.
very aware of all the DEWs and chemtrails, HARP, and these kinds of things. You know, he's posted a lot of stuff about what you just talked about, like the Anchorage earthquake and stuff. And he told me that it's going to be our most listened to show yet, and he's excited to share what he's been researching with us. So that'll be cool. That's at 2 p.m. PST or 5 p.m. EST, and I'll put the link in the chat here, and I'll be sharing it around Facebook more.
So that's 4 o'clock Central Time.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And that's Friday, you said.
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, speaking of directed energy weapons, there were witnesses that saw a blue beam come down from the sky just at the time of that earthquake up in Anchorage, Alaska.
But
I don't know.
you have to call in on the show on Friday and ask Rick any questions you might have.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, interesting. Anybody else like to add anything?
Hi, a few days ago, I had a dream that I couldn't understand it till now. It was doing on Telegram, the application Telegram. It's just like WhatsApp, and it was a group. There was so many members, and Dwayne has this avatar that he has here now. And he made me one of the admins of the group and told me you can send messages, explain things, and anything for 1 hour in days. And just this, and I can't remember anything, and I didn't understand that. Maybe you can explain me what does it mean?
Is this Grayson speaking? Is that you, Grayson?
No, I'm Sajjad.
Okay. Well, it's very simple. It's very self-explanatory, young man. It just goes along the lines of what we're doing with the social medias. And so the experience is simply, set up so that you're familiar with what to do. That's all. So again, it's taking place on the real side like this that you've decided to step up and join. It's just that simple. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
I had a very vivid dream this morning, and for whatever purpose, I was in a position in front of a very large crowd of people, thousands, and I actually saw that I was about ready to start speaking to everybody, but I was doing it in the capacity of vice president. And there were a few little things that went on around it, but that was the main gist of it. So I know that there are a lot of things that are getting ready to open, doors open, for a lot of people. There was a whole group of people this morning, I guess, in Paris that were having a tizzy fit over what's going on there in their system. And apparently there was a whole group of them that were chanting, "We want Trump," of all things. So even though there aren't a lot of things that are showing up on the surface just yet, but there are things that are brewing underneath it all, as well as you all know. You know, it looks like nothing's happening, but something's happening.
True.
So, and I've seen our system as it was set up, originally as the blueprint for a lot of other countries, which simply means a very small government. But as you can see, it's grown to the point of overwhelm. And now there's a whole lot of that system that's going to go down the drain as it was intended to. It was never supposed to be there in the first place, but people went to sleep and allowed it to come to where it is. So there's going to be some major changes that are happening all around the planet with respect to this.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Wayne, do you have any final comments or updates that you would like to share with everybody?
Mean you want to know all my secrets?
Exactly.
Sure.
And now you got it.
I don't think we have time until next week for me to discuss all of this. It would take about a week. Do you have time?
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah.
We'll make time.
No, I'm going to put people to sleep here. So, no, it's fine. What you started off with, etc. And so, this will be interesting. This radio show the kids are going on, and what else? And your radio show will start this Sunday, right? Or when?
Well, not Sunday because that's the UK, right?
Oh, okay. I mean, will it be next Wednesday or when?
Well, I kind of was thinking the beginning of January, and do the rest Skypes up through the end of the year, and then hit it in January, unless you.
Oh no, that's fine. I was just gonna ask. So, preparing the people because they can call in, but no, that's fine. I know you kids are doing great, and yes, it's yes. Thank you for the Christmas warning.
You're welcome.
I try to warn my friends about Christmas too, but they don't want to listen. They want Christmas.
They love it.
Yes, they love the tinsels and all the stuff on the trees and the GMO pumpkin pie and everything, and so.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Sandy likes all that too. We have like 4 Christmas trees.
Oh, we
in
do
the house.
not have 4 Christmas trees.
She's
I just
sitting
leave
right in
them.
front of one that's 8 feet high with about 1,000 ornaments on it.
But it's
one up
been
in-
up since 2000, since my mother lived with us, which is
I told Sandy
2010.
if she wants a Christmas tree, she's gonna have to put it up and take it down. She put it up, but she never took it down. It's been here ever since we've been in the house. For
All the
7
lights
years.
have burnt out, so it's just sitting there. But then that means I have to put all the stuff away or give it away. Yeah, I used to like the glitz and glitter a lot, but I do like light and brightness.
One little share.
Okay.
On the news last night, the 6 o'clock news, they reported a guy in like downtown New York, a major street, standing on the sidewalk shouting, Santa Claus is not real, he does not exist, your parents are lying to you. And it was a story about, well, we found a Grinch.
In New York City.
Yes, New York City on the sidewalk with a megaphone saying, Christmas is not real, Santa Claus does not exist, your parents are lying to you.
Oh boy, how long did he last?
I couldn't do a thing because he was on a public street and he was exercising his right to speak.
Wow. That's interesting.
He wasn't drunk.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Claudia.
You know, it makes you wonder, you know, when people willingly participate in something they know is not true, intentionally lie to their kids, knowingly and willingly lie to their kids, try to create a false scenario, you know, how much of that affects the rest of their life, you know? What else is being screwed up in their life just by exercising that falsehood? What else are they, what kind of attachments are they getting in their life, you know?
Yeah. This is the time of year too that every Tom, Dick, and Harry sends you stickers in the mail and then a donation envelope. I don't know how many I have gotten, and they don't, even though you don't donate, let's say to the Salvation Army or the Lakota Indians or whatever, they just bombard you over and over again with please donate. So they think this time of year the people's hearts are open and donate. Good old Christmas.
Well, if everybody knew where all that those numbers went and what they use them for, you might have a different attitude about donating.
Oh yeah, you mean if you donate?
Yeah, if you donate, if you knew where the money was actually going or the numbers were going, you might have a different attitude about donating to those organizations, because it's not in your interest at all, or in the people that they're trying to convince you that it's for. It's for a whole different agenda.
Well, I have no idea about that. That's probably very, very true. Because
well, you got an invasion at the southern border right now that's directly resulted from all of that. Numbers created out of thin air.
Oh, sure.
Finds its way into all these different organizations that have claimed they're for the humanitarian people, and they're not.
Till next time.
Till next time. Thank you so much, everybody.